panicking when you see that you're not making anything. You're just getting clicks and you're getting no conversions. You're like, okay, well, I'll change this. Okay, I'll pause that. Okay, I'll take the budget away from that. And in the end, you're not letting the algorithm learn. All you're doing is disrupting the process. Set it up confidently. Know that the tracking is working. Know that everything is set up as it should be, and leave it. I find that the larger the advertiser, the worse the tracking is my opinion.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Champions of Performance Marketing. Today's guest is someone that has a deep experience across multiple sides of digital marketing, from affiliate marketing, SEO, performance marketing, growth strategies. I'm here with Josh Littler. He's the CEO and co-founder of Digital Mojito, a full-service digital marketing agency working with advertisers across different verticals, helping them with traffic acquisition, campaign optimization, and many other things that I think he will tell us more.
Yeah, for sure.
Today we are going to talk about what's actually working today for media buyers, how to optimize campaigns, what to pay attention to when scaling, and how to get to that profitable campaigns that we all want, right?
Okay.
Hi, Josh. Thank you for joining me today. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Julia. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's start with your journey. How did you first get into digital marketing and affiliate marketing?
Well, it was a long time ago. I had a lot more hair back then. It was probably about 16 years ago, more or less. Digital marketing wasn't supposed to be my calling. I think, everybody ends up in this industry, had a different vision for their future, but you kind of end up here and you stay,
That's
right? It's
true.
quite an addictive space to be in. So you just end up in this industry. But yeah, I started off, I was actually a sales guy for an alarm company in Spain. And I was getting a bit fed up of going door to door knocking and just trying to find clients. So I decided to try my luck. In Spain, they value that you speak English very highly over any experience. So I found this digital marketing company in the middle of the Alicante region. I never looked back since. So about 16 years, I would say now.
And what led you to build Digital Mojito?
A number of things, really. First off, my first job was in lead generation. I was working as the UK country manager for a company. I was looking to build databases, monetizing them, and just kind of getting to understand how a digital marketing business goes from start to finish from an operational level. It just so happened that one of my clients at the time offered me a job. I moved from Spain to the UK, was tasked with the opportunity to set up a brand new arm for their business. So we're typically an offline business. They wanted to start the online business. So I kind of took more or less my knowledge that I had at the time and set up the digital side of their business. Of course, when you work for somebody else, you have to kind of go by their rules and go by their company policies. There are times where you as a person don't necessarily agree, or you would like to make a change or do something. But when you work for somebody else, that's not always possible. So from there, I moved on to another company. Again, I was the head of an affiliate network in the UK, and I was just managing the network as a whole. But again, the company had different visions. They gave me a different job, and it just got a little bit confusing. So I ended up leaving that job, and I thought to myself, I can do this. I know more or less everything that there is to know. I've got experience, so just going to jump in and do it. And that's how Digital Mojito was born. Back in the day, I would say transparency wasn't really a thing in the affiliate marketing space from the affiliate level, network level. I kind of led with that. And that's where that decisions led us to where we are today as a business, really just being a transparency first agency.
And what kind of brands do you work with mostly?
So we specialize in branded campaigns mainly. So we work with brands like Maserati, Samsung, North Face, Canada Goose, Philips, etc. We manage their lead generation campaigns. So they come to us with a specific objective, be it mainly to bolster their CRM, generate subscribers, any sort of objective that they want that would fall within a CPL-based setup. And then we use our existing affiliate network of partners, which are mainly all direct partners, to deliver those campaigns. So mainly branded campaigns at this point.
So you manage the affiliate programs for these brands?
Occasionally, but we mainly just do the lead generation more than anything. So let's take, for example, Maserati as a case study. they wanted to generate test drive subscribers or test drive users to go to the dealership and test drive the car. And our job was obviously to ensure that those users ended up attending the test drive, trying the car, and then having conversations with Maserati about potentially buying the car in the future. Even though we get paid top of the funnel, we obviously invest a lot of our time and effort into making sure that further down the funnel, those results translate into sales. So yeah, it's a bit of a
And
complex.
how do you work with the affiliate network? Because you mentioned that you work also with the affiliate network.
Yes. So Digital Mojito at its core is an affiliate network.
Okay.
We do have, we're not a massive affiliate network, but we do work with large brands, which kind of counters that. So we do attract a lot of attention with affiliates, with direct affiliates and media buyers with regards to the brands that we particularly work with. We use we use Everflow for our tracking technology. So affiliates know that their tracking is fully on board from end to end.
So you actually have offers, you work with these brands, provide the offers for other media buyers, affiliates to promote them, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's good to know.
Yeah.
And what are the verticals that you see growing, this year mostly?
That's a tough question because it's all over the place. At least in my opinion, it's all over the place at the moment. We mainly do run campaigns in the EU and the UK. So I would say car test drives is always a huge vertical for us. We're always generating test drives for different brands. We find home improvement, finance, claims, insurance, food, subscription boxes, entertainment, pets. It really depends. We have a really wide variety. It just depends on the affiliate and their specific interest and niche, but we try to cater to as many as we can. But if I was to kind of narrow it down, I don't think I'll be able to give you a concise answer, to be honest, with what's working for us, because
I'm sure
it's quite a really wide variety. So
it's very subjective anyway to everyday work for everybody.
Yeah.
But what do you think makes a good offer for a media buyer?
Well, it needs to have a reliable tracking, in my opinion. A media buyer does need to rely fully on the fact that their campaign will track all of the events necessary for them to optimize their spend and their media buying efforts. B, I would say the offer needs to be strong. Of course, we as an agency, we try to get the best offer available for all of our affiliates. So even though there's not a specific offer maybe on their website, or their standard offer is not that, we'll always suggest a specific angle or an offer that they should at least test. With obviously our interests based completely on our media buyers and affiliates. So the offer needs to be strong, and obviously needs to convert well. But for my personal opinion, I think tracking needs to be completely accurate and on point. And then the offer needs to be strong. And then, of course, payment terms need to be acceptable for the media buyer to continue, receive those funds and reinvest them to scale campaigns. It's a bit of like a juggling, you have to make sure that none of those balls fall. But it's, I would say they're probably the three most important things at least for a media buyer, and that we then obviously take into consideration for them as well.
And how can a media buyer join Digital Mojito to see what offers you are and promote them?
Sure. So we would just provide an Everflow invite link. What we do then, of course, because our advertisers are a little bit more particular, we do have a bit of a stricter validation process. So we do have like a pre-screening interview. We find out about the traffic, how you intend to promote the campaigns. And we stress the fact that we need to share transparency in placements with these brands. And that's something we do as an absolute non-negotiable. So if you are a media buyer interested in joining us, it is very important that you do share those placements with us so we can see where those ads are being placed, how that's being run, and that at any given time, that advertiser can then check to see how things are going. But yeah, you would probably have a conversation with me, with my co-founder, Sonia, or with our affiliate manager, Nora, and we will onboard you onto the network if obviously you meet all of the criteria, which we do have a strict process, but we're always open to trying onboarding new affiliates, especially direct affiliates and media buyers who have some experience in the space.
So you focus more on the quality affiliates for your brands, for the brands that you promote, because that's what I see from these strict interviews and everything, focusing on quality more than quantity.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do the same for the affiliates as well. We as I said, we're not a huge network. We have not a very limited list of partners, but very limited list of advertisers. So we try and, find an even balance where we give the affiliates a really good quality campaigns with very good payouts and terms. And in exchange, we expect the traffic to be obviously at the same level as well. So it's that collaboration.
What traffic sources do you see working now the best for your offers?
So for us, I would say depends who's watching this, but strangely enough, email is always king for us. Email marketing is always the best channel for us. I would say quite confidently that 90% of our traffic is email. We do work with direct affiliates, and we do sometimes build out our own creatives and our own landing pages and things like that. I would say it's very much geared towards email, but we do obviously find a lot of traffic spiking in native and social, which is the other two sort of channels that we focus a lot on.
Native and social, okay.
We don't do a lot in push or pop or anything like that, just because it's not compatible with the advertisers we work with.
Okay.
But I would say good placements on Meta, good placements on TikTok and native platforms is almost a signed deal with the advertisers. And the reward is particularly good for the affiliates as well by those channels. If they can crack that, that CPL target.
Okay, so email number one,
Yes.
then it's Meta, TikTok, and native for placements.
That's correct. Yeah.
And for email, do you run also, you said you run campaigns internally, like lead generation campaigns as well. You have to get those emails from somewhere.
Yeah. So actually, weirdly enough, we don't actually hold any data, any email data. We rely completely on our affiliates to deliver our campaigns on an email perspective.
Okay.
We do have our own sites, we do have our own placements, but it doesn't justify enough volume for us to monetize that data for other verticals. So we would just maybe collect leads for certain specific verticals when the advertiser wants us to do like a white label or trusts our judgment and collecting those leads for them, and then we just build our own brand around that. So with regards to email, we actually rely heavily on our affiliates to deliver that via that channel, and then we do media buying, Meta and native internally ourselves.
And the media buyer is getting the leads from their campaigns. So they are doing a lead generation campaign, and then they're doing an email campaign where they send to the offer, right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So it depends on how the affiliate or media buyer wants to work with us. If you have an existing database, great. If you don't, then you can collect your own data through your own efforts, be it via Meta or whatever other channel that you want. And as long as you use our approved email creatives and subject lines, then you're good to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I see the email is usually a source that it's underrated, and it pops up like that, that it's still powerful, very powerful.
Yeah.
And people remind, oh, okay, email again.
Yeah. Yeah. You probably find that email is a cost-effective channel as well.
Yeah,
if you have the data to send, of course you need to have the infrastructure in place from a sending platform perspective. But if you have a reliable partner, like a reliable provider, the cost to email is almost comparable, next to none, because you do get that and you do get a decent engagement from it. If you have good quality email data, I think it's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, plus you can reuse it for different offers if you have that list, and you don't have to pay for each.
Exactly. Yeah.
For each visit. Yeah. Do you see like brands prefer a different source of traffic? Like they're becoming dependent on one platform or not, or they're just flexible? How do you see the brands accepting?
They are, depends on the brand. They are flexible from their side, based on their experience with the channel. If they've had a negative experience, let's say with email, maybe for a lack of compliance or lack of transparency, it's our job as marketers, as a network, to educate them and teach them about our processes. If we have a secure process and we can provide a case study with regards to who else is running that channel and finding success, then there's no reason why they shouldn't try it. So yeah, it just depends on the brand, but it is a bit of an educational process if they've had a negative experience.
Okay, thanks. And now let's go to campaigns, because people watching this will want to know how to set up campaigns, how to structure a campaign, maybe, I don't know, the budget they should have. What's your experience about, the structure of a campaign? For you pick a channel that you most use.
I'll start maybe with Meta.
Okay.
we started running Meta not very long ago. Even though we've been in the space for about 10 years, we actually only started doing Meta more seriously last year, last year. And basically, it just all came because it just came from a conference. We had a conversation that was interesting for us, and we thought, okay, you know what, we can do that. Let's try it. So, I think my biggest tip in this case would be not to chase the shiny objects, because I know we can get carried away when we go to conferences and hear all these conversations around you about what's working for them and what's where they're making hundreds of thousands of euros a month or even a day with certain vertical. So I think the number one tip is don't get carried away. Is, if you have, I would say, promote something that you know at least a little bit. If I don't know anything about Nutra, I'm not going to promote Nutra, for example, but I do know maybe about automotive. So I'm going to set up campaigns based on automotive related products, for example. It's important that you don't let emotion get involved as well with media buying. It does take us a lot of time to set up the ads, set up the creative, set up the copy. These days we have huge help with AI. We can be a bit lazier with our creativity, but I think, we do need to have a good base of what we want to promote. But I think, we need to have a good structure, be organized, and definitely not let emotion get in the way. Because if you get too emotionally involved in a campaign, you're like, no, I need this to work, and you keep seeing that you're not generating revenue from it, then you're just burning budget. And, if you think, oh, I've spent like 24 hours or 2 weeks to this campaign and not getting anything from it, I would strongly advise that you just stop it, review it, take a step back, reanalyze it, see what competitors are doing. We've got loads of free tools available to us. You don't need to pay for a subscription for anything. You can just jump onto the ads library, check what others are doing. You can just search for your specific industry, your specific niche that you're working on or vertical, and do your own research. See what others are doing. See what's, now you can filter by most traffic as well. So there's a lot of things we can do. And of course, leverage AI. We've got it there. We're all paying for a subscription, most of us. So let's use it to as much as we can. I would say, to summarize, know your niche, don't get emotionally involved, control your ad spend to what you can afford to spend as well. Yeah, I think media buyers are side by side with like gamblers, because we do invest money in exchange to maybe get some money back, right? So
we try to do that, right?
Yeah. So a lot of us are winners, a lot of us are losers. It's just a question of testing, retesting, trying different angles. Don't just start with one specific angle and trying to see if that works. Try, I would say, 5 different angles, different copy changes, targeting, keep it broad. Meta has this amazing AI that knows the users better than you do. So, it's a broad targeting, let Meta do its work. It's in their own interest for you to spend more. They obviously want to get your campaign delivered. Yeah, I think it's a bit of a balance there. But.
And when you start, because testing is one important step for every campaign. When you start testing for example, one of your offers on Meta, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think would be like enough budget to get, meaningful data from that test?
Yeah.
Like so minimum budget.
So from our side, because we work with advertisers who pay us on a CPL basis, it's easier to have that CPA target that you in mind. So obviously, if you want to make money from this and you want to be profitable, you need to just set that CPM target a little bit lower than what you're getting paid on. So I would say, budget-wise, depends. I always start with a low budget, maybe. Well, actually, whatever the ad account allows as well. If you use your own ad account, sometimes you have your set limits. I started with a 40 euro a day ad spend limit, and I couldn't spend more than that. As you start spending and as you start scaling, then Meta itself automatically updates that limit for you. And you can then get into conversations with them about opening maybe a credit line, work within maybe a 10 or 15K credit for the month. It just depends on. But to start, I would say whatever you're comfortable with spending. I always aim for 2 or 3 times the spend of what I get paid on a cost per lead, more or less. So if I get paid 20 euros, I'll aim to spend about 60, something around that figure per day to start. And then as I start, maybe after 3 or 4 days, once I start seeing the volume come in and start seeing the angles that are converting and start seeing stats, data is key for you to make decisions as well. Then you start switching budgets, trying different angles, incorporating new elements into it, and obviously increasing the budget on winning angles as well. So yeah, I would say one of the most important things, of course, is understanding the data as well and collecting as much data as you can about that specific channel and that specific campaign, so you can make an educated decision with regards to the next steps. So,
Of course.
So we don't burn our budget, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of the work is done in that testing period when you test angles, creatives, I don't know, the funnel itself. And usually you burn some budget in that period, but you need to think about it as a learning phase for your campaign to be able to grow it and scale.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what mistakes do you see that affiliates are doing, like to waste the most budget early on? There are some mistakes
same mistakes that I made, actually. So,
what?
Panicking when you see that you're not making anything, you're just getting clicks and you're getting no conversions. You're like, okay, well, I'll change this. Okay, I'll pause that. Okay, I'll take the budget away from that. And in the end, you're not letting the algorithm learn. All you're doing is disrupting the process. For me, the number one thing is set up something you're confident and you feel comfortable with, run that and leave it. If you want to spend $60, $100 a day to be conservative and just keep things under control and manageable for you, then I would say just set it up confidently. Know that the tracking is working. Know that everything is set up as it should be, and leave it. Because if you start messing around, touching different copies, pausing angles, and things, it just becomes counterproductive. And the biggest mistake I made was panicking and turning things off when I shouldn't have turned it off and just left it.
And how much time do you think should be like minimum to leave the campaign running for testing, to getting data, and then just start doing based on data, optimize?
Sure. Depends on the vertical and obviously how you get paid, but on a CPL basis, you can get results pretty quickly because it's higher up in the funnel. So you get a better vision of the future projection of that campaign early on. If you're running e-commerce and you get paid obviously on a CPA or per sale, then I would say no, probably leave it 4 days, 5 days minimum.
Okay. 5 days.
To see how things are working. You may get one conversion, you may get 2 conversions. It all depends as well on your ad spend and your budget. But I think the learning process is there. Meta specifically tells us there's a learning process. We need to leave it and just let it do its job. But I would say for lead gen, 2-3 days, I think is more than enough for you to know whether an angle is working or not. E-commerce, probably 5 days, I would say, something like that. Sometimes 7 days. Yeah, it depends.
And then you can touch it.
And then you can just, switch whatever you need to do in moderation.
But you have data and you know what to do. I mean, basically, you should know better what to do.
Yeah, in moderation. Yeah.
Now about creatives. What makes a creative perform well? From your experience, what you should pay attention to when building those creatives? I know we have AI, I know we have suggestions, but sometimes humans tend to, be emotional and react differently to different creatives. Sure. And I don't think AI can do that without our help.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think AI does need a bit of assistance with that, with reaching certain emotions. Getting very good at it now. There's some really powerful tools in the market that actually does almost everything for you. But with regards to creative, I would say, it's all about the angles. It's learning about the avatar that you want to basically show the ad to. Put yourself in their shoes. What solution are you giving them to their problem? So you need to do that research, understand, what problem they have, and if they don't have a problem, create it for them, and obviously offer them a solution in the same moment. Different angles. Of course, it's all about trying different wordings, different combinations. Video is obviously very, very, very strong on creatives at the moment. Static images are working really well. Carousels actually work surprisingly well. Depends on the vertical. For me and for my advertisers, the most important thing is compliance and following brand guidelines, making sure that you're promoting the brand as they want to be perceived by the user, by their potential consumer. That's the key thing. Other brands, they just want to sell. They don't really, really mind. As long as you don't do anything that's illegal, then they don't really mind how you promote them.
Yeah. There are a lot of those. Yeah.
Yeah. But with ours, where it's a brand and they say, I'm Maserati, I want to give you some budget. I want you to do media buying for me on your sites, on your socials, then there it becomes a little bit more complicated from a brand compliance and guideline perspective. But, I would say that represents maybe 1% of the media buying efforts in the world, less than 1% for branding campaigns. Everything else that's, I think, as long as you have from the brand creative freedom and you really know what you're supposed to be doing with the best interest in the brand and for you in order to get paid for that commission. Because at the end of the day, we're investing our own money, So if the advertisers don't give you budget to spend an ad spend and you're investing your own money, you need to do it right. And you want to make it work. Other
So they
agencies
should
maybe are
not be
lucky.
misleading, I would say, the creatives.
Yeah, creatives should not
Be
be
compliant.
misleading because it just ends up in chargebacks, refunds, complaints, and ultimately you're getting removed from the campaign, blacklisted, and any commissions you've generated scrubbed. So in extreme cases, of course. But yeah, from a creative perspective, I would say, be compliant, be creative. I know it's hard to say, but don't rely on AI to give you a solution to all your problems. Use it as a support. I always say I use AI for everything, I want to admit, but I use it more like, like when you break your leg and they give you the walking sticks. It's the same thing. You use it as a support, or like training wheels, on the bicycle when it has a support. Just use it like that to kind of guide you to success more than anything, but don't use it as a resource.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a resource and we still have to use our brain.
Yeah, we need to. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great support, but we still need to bring our creativity, because then we become very lazy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And how often should these creatives be changed, do you think?
So creatives, I would say, rather than being changed, I am more of the opinion of adding them to a successful campaign, or adding and then removing those that are not pacing at the right level. I think you should always be testing because the data is there for you available to see and to make your own decisions and assumptions. Yeah, I would say just add creatives rather than swapping them. I always add them. I find more success in adding creatives rather than swapping around from existing active ads, if that makes sense.
So you have a campaign with some ads and you add more creatives to that campaign and you never remove them or move them to other campaign?
I remove them when they go below a certain threshold and they don't pace at the right level. Yeah.
You remove them or you just move them to another?
I remove them.
Remove.
Yeah. If they're pacing below a certain level for me, I just pause them. And I revisit with a different angle and keep trying.
Okay. And how many creatives do you usually use for a campaign?
Depending on the ad sets and the avatar, the way I structure it is I do obviously the campaign, then the ad set is a certain avatar, like a certain target market, and then I do 5 to 10 different creatives for each ad set and variations. And I'll probably try 3 or 4 different avatars at a time. So I'm probably running about 40 different creatives at a time. And then I just use the data to help me out making informed decisions. I used to get actually very, very involved in the campaign setup process. And I was always, I used to love a creative and I used to always want to keep it there. And it just becomes really counterproductive. I've made a ton of mistakes in that respect. I still have a lot to learn, I guess, but from my personal experience, it's,
Usually I think it's like that. When you build something, you get very attached to it and it's hard to let go of some parts.
Yeah.
But yeah, the feedback you get from traffic, clicks, and so on, I mean,
yeah.
And from customers, it's usually helpful in that area.
And I usually find that what works isn't necessarily what I think is working as well. That's usually the trend in my life. Whatever I think is going to do really, really well is actually the complete opposite. Sometimes, most of the time, the ugliest creatives and the worst copy is what converts the best for me.
So I should not ask you for trends, or I should ask you for trends and do the opposite,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
that would be the trend that's going, okay, good to know.
Yeah, from a creative perspective, I would say that the ugliest stuff usually does better. Yeah.
Okay, so ugly works. And you mentioned that you watch the data. What metrics do you watch closely when you optimize a campaign?
Primarily the reach, reach, clicks, obviously conversions, most importantly, obviously the CPA, if it's within my thresholds levels. And then, I just focus on those four key elements. More than anything, it's, if you get a good reach but a low click, then obviously, there's an issue with creative. If you get a high reach, high click, low conversion, then there's something maybe with a landing page or something with the user journey that post click. So there's a lot of information you can get just by snapshot of the data. You can see where things are dropping off.
Exactly.
Of course, top tip from me is what I usually do. I know we said we shouldn't use AI that much, but I literally screenshot it, upload it into Claude, and get it to do an analysis for me. You can use other tools like Manus. Manus is a Meta product now. Manus is an AI that's working really well, and you just connect it to your ads library. You just literally have a conversation with it and say, okay, what's working, what's not, what do I need to change, what is successful, what's failing. You just have a conversation with this AI. It tells you very, very clearly, very candidly what needs to be done. If, of course, you have an issue with the landing page, then there's two ways. You can speak to the advertiser and discuss what's happening, get them to share some information with you with regards to where the user's dropping off. Maybe there's some friction with the pricing or copy, or there's something on the site that just doesn't agree with the user. If you control the landing page, or if you control the user journey, and you maybe have the pre-lander and you have a pre-lander in place or advertorial or whatever, and the user just drops off from there, then you need to maybe make a few tweaks to ensure that the user remains on the site. There needs to be a connect from impression to click to conversion. There needs to be a cohesiveness from start to finish of what that user is seeing. So if the user's looking at coffee products and they go to a site that then speaks about the benefits of tea, then they're going to drop off. But if you're speaking about coffee products, then the benefits of coffee and a coffee subscription, then they're likely to potentially, hopefully, take a coffee subscription. It depends really, but I would say there needs to be cohesiveness for sure.
And the affiliates you are working with, do you see them using pre-lenders or going with the traffic directly to the offer? You mentioned pre-lender, and that was one of my questions when you were talking about the metrics. Because as an affiliate, you don't control the final offer page, but you can control the landing page and see there, do warm up the visitor,
Yes.
But how is your experience with the ones that you are working with? They use a pre-lender or they prefer to test directly with the offer?
I think that's I would say it's a deeply personal decision for each affiliate. It depends on, if they run the ads on a page that has authority and it's a relatively easy vertical that's not overly saturated and very branded, then you could get away with sending users straight through to the landing page. It also depends on your copy and your ads. If you need to warm up that user because there's a purchase and you need to create that purchase intent, you do need to implement some sort of an intermediary solution for the user to read through, learn about the benefits. Essentially, you have that opportunity to have that user read about the product and gives you the opportunity to sell them the product, to warm them up. And it's if the oven's hot, the bread's going to bake. If it's not, it's not. So yeah. A pre-lander, it depends on the affiliate really and what they know about and also their experience. If I normally find that new affiliates sometimes don't have that much experience with pre-landers, or maybe don't have the technology or know-how on what they need to do on a pre-lander, that's fine. You can try sending traffic straight through to the landing page, but your creative or your ad copy needs to be absolutely perfect and spot on for the user to be pre-warmed before they get to the landing page. So it really depends. My affiliates, some are extremely creative and they can get conversions out of thin air, really good quality conversions. Just, I would never even know how they do it, but the advertisers always want more of that sort of traffic. So we know it works. And of course, we as a platform, we invest a lot in technology. So we have a fraud prevention tool and everything. So we make sure that traffic is clean. But yeah, it depends on the affiliate and their preferences.
Yeah, because from our side, so we have tracking platform used by media buyers, and they use sometimes direct linking, going directly to the offer. But most of the time when they start something, we notice that they do split. So they send some traffic directly and then some traffic to the landing page and do testing to compare the data to make sure they to test. But as you said, depends a lot on the affiliate experience and things like that, and the offer, of course.
Yeah.
We talk about tracking. You mentioned that data is very important, and I agree that today with all these AIs and everything, data is very important to be accurate so you can monitor and optimize.
Mm-hmm.
But what mistakes do you see advertisers make with attribution and tracking usually from your experience?
Without sounding too controversial, I find that the larger the advertiser, the worse the tracking is my opinion.
Yeah, probably.
I think the larger the company, the worse setup they have, because they try and build everything internally rather than rely on a third party that knows exactly what they're doing to offer them that solution. I think advertisers don't give the affiliates, or a lot of advertisers actually, don't give the affiliates the opportunity to track different events of that traffic that they're sending. So that, for me, that's a very key limitation.
Yes.
Common limitation across a lot of advertisers, because they rely purely on reporting back the conversion that they want to pay you for. But they don't necessarily tell you if the user signed up as a lead or as a start cart added or as a cart abandonment or other really important elements for you as an affiliate to know where the traffic is dropping off. If the user drops off maybe a cart abandonment a lot and you get that information, then maybe it's not your issue. Maybe it's an issue with the advertiser that you need to raise with them. But if you don't have that visibility, you can't do it. You just think, okay, that campaign's not working for me. I'm just going to pause it, and that's it.
Exactly.
And then you never look back. You never consider running it again. But I think advertisers do definitely need to work a little bit more on improving their processes from a tracking and attribution perspective, with a view of reporting that information to affiliates more. I think that's a massive, massive issue at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. For example, like with Meta sends traffic, and if you don't send those conversions back, you cannot optimize. I mean, you are losing money because they will just go broad again and again, and and broad traffic when they could target much better if they know this kind of traffic is converting. Okay, I will send you more like that. I mean, their algorithm. And it's the same for many other ad networks, because most of them, their algorithm learn from the conversions that you send back, and having this system to send back is very, very important, I saw. But also for Meta and other, it's important to send other signals as well. So if you can send, I don't know, the phone, the age, the email or something like that. And as an affiliate, you usually don't have that information. And as you said, advertisers just keep that private, or they don't send any kind of information, just like a box. And I think the partnership could be better.
Exactly.
If the information is, would flow more easily.
Absolutely. I mean, if you have that direct relationship with an advertiser and they can tell you exactly what the traffic is doing and who those users are, it's completely, relevant to you as a buyer, but also interesting for them, because you're going to be driving them more sales or more leads and more traffic. So I think it's something that advertisers do need to invest more time and, of course, resources in. And it is a limitation at the moment. It restricts.
Probably they will. I think they need to be educated and start doing that. If some of them start doing and see the progress, it's like a ball of snow to keep growing.
Exactly.
At least that I hope.
Well, I mean, it's what I say to my advertisers most of the time. As you as an advertiser, when you're running your own campaigns, you want to see what the user's doing. The affiliate expects exactly the same as what you expect to see. So if you can provide that information, that insight, it doesn't mean that the affiliate's going to ask you for more money. That's not the end goal. The end goal is for the affiliate to make money and essentially, make a sustainable campaign out of your product. So it's
to be a win-win partnership.
Yeah, exactly.
Because for sure the advertiser is tracking the flow, the conversion, the lead and everything. And they run their own campaigns as well, as you said, because if they are big brands, they usually run their own campaigns and they need them to be optimized. And it's a good example. As you do that, you should inform the affiliate as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's move forward. Since we talk about this partnership relation between brands and affiliates, what do you think brands looked in affiliate partners? Like, there are some specific things that they ask from you when you find them partners, affiliates?
So we already have a very close, I would say, close-knit community of affiliates on our network. It's very important for us as a network to know those affiliates and what works for them, what doesn't work for them, so that we don't waste each other's time. You know, if I'm running a campaign with you and you do really well with technology, but I know from historical performance that you don't do well with gambling, I'm not going to send you gambling. I'm not going to offer you gambling because it's a waste of everybody's resources. But it's important for us as a network to know our affiliates, like peers of the industry, and like some of them are even friends, and we even know down to like a family level. So I think it's very important to have that connection with your partners, and then share that insights with the advertisers, because at least that way the advertisers know that everything is under control, that you're going to run a campaign with integrity, and that you want the campaign to be a success. So when we speak to the brands, most of them already know how we run our campaigns and what we can give them from our affiliates.
And what do you think makes brands stop working with affiliates?
Bad experiences, fraud, lack of transparency, lack of insight. You find plenty of brands that have tried the affiliate space that got very, very burnt with fraud, for example. Fraud is a massive issue. And we remedy that with fraud prevention. So we can say very confidently that in the last 3 or 4 years that we've had this fraud prevention tool, we've not had a single case of fraud. We do, obviously, there are times where you have fluctuations in quality and, that's inevitable. But that's another topic, because quality is relative to what the advertiser perceives of the lead rather than, so it could be a bit relative. But fraud is a massive issue. But we feel like we've put a solution and a stop for that, and with our own fraud prevention solution. We do find that when an advertiser doesn't want to run affiliate campaigns, it's because they've probably had fraud before, or they've had a campaign run non-compliantly, or the list can go on forever, actually. I would say an example that I've had quite a few times is specifically for the email channel. Advertisers have tried the affiliate channel by email, and they found that it's created a lot of complaints, a lot of legal issues for them, a lot of problems from a compliance perspective. And they don't want to try email ever again. There's a non-negotiable, no, I'm not going to do that ever again, because the issue was too big at the time. It's our job to ensure that those things don't happen.
To filter the affiliates. Yeah, I understand. I think this is one of the problems, that affiliate marketing has this reputation.
Yeah, it does.
It is not fully undeserved, because a few years ago, I think the fraud was much worse than today. But I think it could be better.
Yeah, I mean, there's also stricter filters these days as well. So advertisers have a really strict level of what they expect from you as an affiliate. And we have a campaign now, for example, where we have to send the affiliate maybe a 30 or 40 question due diligence questionnaire where they fill out everything about how they do, where they collect the data, permissions, all of that, everything. And then it takes 2 or 3 weeks for them to approve that as a brand. And then only then can the affiliate run the campaign. So there are processes in place, but if you pass those processes and you run a campaign, the success is almost guaranteed, because the campaigns are normally quite good. But figure this, if you spend half an hour or an hour filling out a due diligence form, then you wait 2 or 3 weeks, and then the campaign doesn't convert. That's a massive waste of your time as an affiliate.
Exactly.
We try and find that even balance. Maybe what we do is we expect the affiliate to do that once, and then we forward that template to the advertiser, so the affiliate doesn't have to do any more work. We do kind of do it for them in that respect. Yeah, we find that.
Okay, that makes sense, and I think it's very good for the brand.
Yeah,
if you do that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about AI. And how do you use it exactly in your workflows? What part of the, media buyers should automate, maybe, if you have some advice there?
So if we're speaking specifically about media buying and reporting or workflows in that space, use Claude, I use ChatGPT, I use Claude Code, Codex, Manus, I use them all. I rely heavily on the MCPs, and I connect to my marketplace, to my ads library, to my pages, to everything. And I do everything conversationally. I think that's the most important thing, because I consider myself to be an expert in digital marketing. I don't consider myself to be an expert in media buying. I do believe that AI can help you gain insight into things where maybe you don't consider looking into. So, for example, if you want to use maybe Manus, which is that direct integration with Meta, You literally just ask it a question, get to run a report, and it's a schedule a workflow for you. So every Monday, every 2 or 3 days, send me an export of how my data, of how my campaigns are looking, how they're performing, conversions, clicks, reach, etc., and give it to you in a snapshot point of view. It really helps you to organize your day. I've gone one step further, and I do use a technology called OpenClaw, which is an agent setup. So I also give it access to my Meta account, my ads library. It can automatically, if I want to. I don't have it enabled most of the time because I think it's not too secure right now. Can give it the authority to pause campaigns, to switch creatives, try different angles. You can let it do it. You can let it do your media buying for you. I'm not at that level where I can give it that level of freedom, but I know the capabilities are there for that. And I have it already pre-configured to do that. I use it more for reporting. Again, I just go on my Telegram, ask it a question. Hey, how are my campaigns turning out at the moment? Or how is X campaign doing today? I saw a spike in conversions. Just have a conversation with it, like I think maybe you would have with the advertiser or with the affiliate. Actually, I think you just use AI for that to set up these workflows for you.
I think that's the trend, actually going to talk with the data, talk and understand in your normal language what's happening, not seeing all the reporting, because people get more insight like that.
Exactly.
Your campaign is doing great, but your landing page is not.
Yeah.
And then you have to focus there and give you advice. I see that like a trend as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can also have Meta also has their own AI embedded into the ads manager now as well. So you can just go there and ask it a question, and it's the same. You get the same feedback. Obviously, you have a little bit of a level of limitations there when it comes to the workflows. But you can't actually do workflows through that tool. But if you plug in a third-party tool, then you have all of the insight you need, and it's not so overwhelming to look at just data on a screen. You actually get it structured in a clear way, with suggestions, useful suggestions on how to improve.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the first thing that most applications are building in, to just talk and understand better the data. And probably this will be like next step. Every application will have the possibility to just talk with the data, doing the background work, and then you just see it however you want to see it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting time.
It is exciting.
We are getting close to our talk. I would like to ask you an advice. What would be your top advice for somebody starting media buying now, like an affiliate?
My top advice, there's a lot of things to obviously consider when you're a media buyer. I would say have a good, clear idea of what you want to spend and what you're prepared to invest in media buying. Find the niche that you are particularly interested. I think that's also a very key element. As like what we touched earlier in the conversation. Don't let yourself get carried away by emotions and by what other people are doing and what they're making hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars with, because actually most of the time it's not that true. It's just
shiny. Hype. Yeah.
I would say find a niche that you are comfortable, that you know a little bit about. You don't have to be an expert in it, but know something about it. Something that you enjoy, and something that you know has potential to obviously make you money. Of course, if you think doing teacups is going to make you money, maybe it's not going to make you a millionaire. You may sell a few teacups, but it's not going to make you rich. But I think be structured, be disciplined, know exactly what you want to achieve. Be patient. That's also a super key attribute that we all need to have. Patience is a virtue, as the saying goes. And be organized. Know what you want to achieve, and just work towards that goal. And don't let emotion get in the way. But other than that, you could have a successful campaign if you follow those steps, in my opinion.
And that wraps today's episode of Champions of Performance Marketing. Big thanks, Josh, for sharing, for inspiring us, for sharing your journey. And see you next time.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.